Greetings folks and welcome to the Electromaker podcast. This is your audio version of your midweek roundup of all things Maker, embedded and lovely, but the audio comes from a YouTube show in case you are not familiar, if you're new to this podcast. So far that has not been a problem. The visual element, it appears, is not all that important because I explain everything in great detail, but this week we will be looking at the Arduino Nano ESP32 as our product of the week, and I'll be talking about why I am still quite excited about it, despite the fact of there being lots of other ESP32 development boards out there. We'll be returning very briefly to the Raspberry Pi 5 pre-release just because the one thing that I'm the most excited about, which is the RP1 Southbridge chip, has its own dedicated video with Eben and two other guys from Raspberry Pi just talking about its development cycle, which was over 8 years. The Pi 5 cost $25 million to put together, and a large chunk of that was the RP1 Southbridge. And I just love hearing engineers who've been working on something in private for so long being able to finally talk about it publicly. It's a lot of fun. We'll also be talking about a fantastic ESP32-based gesture remote mini robotic microphone swarms that can isolate sound in different rooms, and a lightning round of crowd supply things, two pre-release projects, and one which we've already talked about, the Haxophone, but they have an update going out, and a really interesting M5 stack rotary encoder with a screen embedded in it and a microcontroller, which looks not dissimilar to the amazing rotary encoder which you could turn, well, it wasn't a rotary encoder, it was a potentiometer with a motor that you could program detents onto. That was from a few shows back. This is a development board which is a rotary encoder, but it being M5 stack, you know it's not going to cost a lot, you know it's going to have pretty good software support, and it looks pretty rugged as well. So, with all of that to get through, we're about to get on with the show. But before I do, our show is purely supported by our own shop. If you head to electromaker.io/shop, you will find things from Raspberry Pi, Arduino, and pretty much everybody else. If you're thinking of buying Christmas presents early for your loved ones, buying it from us will secure the future of this podcast. Now, I think that is absolutely everything. So let's get on with the show. We're going to start this week's show by talking about the Arduino Nano ESP32, which might be the most requested board from Arduino so far, because the ESP32 is loved by absolutely everybody, right? And Arduino is loved by absolutely everybody for their fantastic documentation, the Arduino IDE, and the amount of peripherals that are designed to work specifically with the Arduino ecosystem. And I have, is this going to be, can I get this in the shot? Or maybe I should just do that. I have an Arduino Nano ESP32 right here. Contrary to my usual schedule, I've actually had time to play with it just a little bit, and I've been loving it so far. But that's no surprise. The Arduino Nano is one of my favorite footprints. I've been using Arduino Nanos since the very first Arduino Nanos came out. It's generally the thing that I will reach for. So yes, having one with an ESP32 on it is great. It is also our product of the week. Now, to those of you who aren't familiar, the Electromaker Product of the Week is a series put together by Robin Mitchell, who is an engineer who actually knows things, unlike me, who is an enthusiastic internet person, and he will take you through everything about the Nano ESP32 in a deep dive video, which you can find at the link in the description of this video. And so I'm not going to go into too deep of a dive of it. I'm going to talk about maybe a couple of specific use cases and just the fact that this thing exists and how nice that is. And one crucial difference between it and the Wi-Fi version of the Arduino Uno R4, and we'll get to all of that in just a moment. But yes, the product of the week is incidentally also something that you can win, and we're going to get onto that in just a moment. We've given away every single one of our product of the weeks so far, and we will be doing the same thing today. We'll be starting a competition where you can win one. But before we get to that, why is the Arduino Nano ESP32 such a requested board? Well, the ESP32 has become, as Andreas Spies says, the maker's darling. It does absolutely everything. It's very cheap. It's very, very powerful. But unless you are familiar with how to use the Espressif IDF, or your board is supported specifically by the Arduino IDE, ported by someone in the community, it's not that easy to program necessarily. Whereas Arduino Nanos work with the Arduino IDE. Full stop. That's how Arduino do things. Whenever they release something, you're pretty certain it's going to be fully supported by the Arduino IDE to begin with. And certainly in my little testing, in my spare time, the small amount of spare time that I do have, it's all taken up with Bluetooth low energy, and how to connect things together, because I am working on various potential wireless controllers for music and for various other things. But yes, I have the ESP32, which is connected to my computer. Over there, I have a Seed Xiao, which has an NRF 52840 chip in it, which is Nordic Semiconductor's Bluetooth Low Energy chip, and the two talk to each other perfectly happily. And of course, I'm hoping eventually that I'll be able to attach something to this, that when I put it near light or move it around, that will be attached to my modular synthesizer and will make nice bloopy bleepy noises, because that's what I like. Anyhow, back to the product of the week. If you would like to know more about the ESP32 Nano in general, Robin is a great resource. He's used to talking about things in a technical perspective. As I mentioned before, he is actually an engineer. He knows what he is talking about. And the article as well also takes you through a few potential projects you could put together with an Arduino Nano ESP32, were you to buy one or to win one in a competition, let's say. And without any further ado, let's begin that competition right now here at the start of the show. If you would like to win the Arduino Nano ESP32, all you need to do is be subscribed to our YouTube channel and then leave a comment on this video right here. And all that comment needs to say is what you would make if you won an Arduino Nano ESP32 development board, and also leave the hashtag Nano ESP32 without any spaces in it. And at the end of next week, we will filter through all of the entries to make sure that no one enters multiple times, and we will pick a winner at random. And by the way, if you entered the MQTT Anywhere competition last week and are wondering what happened with that, don't worry, we will be announcing the winner of that on this week's show as well. Anyway, I will be linking this Product of the Week article in the description of this video. Just before we move on to answer a very quick question, this ESP32 version of the Arduino Nano is 3.3 volts tolerant. The same is true of this. This is the Nano 33 BLE Sense Revision 2. Both of these boards are 3.3 volt tolerance. This one has Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. This one just has Bluetooth, but it has a bunch of sensors on it as well. But you can only put 3.3 volts through any of the pins on this, whether that's a digital on-off thing like a switch, or you're reading an analog signal like a voltage. All analog signals are voltages, but you know what I mean. This has to be 3.3 volt tolerant because the majority of microcontrollers are 3.3 volt tolerant. And this isn't a problem when it comes to Arduinos, but in a way it is, because most of the original Arduino shields are 5 volt tolerant, because all of the Arduinos up until now, like this Arduino Uno revision 3, although in this case it's an Elegoo Uno, had the ATmega328P chip on it, which is a 5 volt tolerant chip. Which brings me on to the question. People say, why are Arduino using the ESP32 as a coprocessor on the Arduino Uno R4, which I would be holding up right now if I had one to hand? And the simple answer is the Renesas chip they have on there is super powerful, but it's also 5 volt tolerant. A bit of a rarity in these days of MCU microcontroller manufacturing, yes. Which means that any shield that worked on this Arduino Uno or the revision before that can work safely with that Arduino Uno. And the fact that it has 5 volt tolerance makes the Arduino Uno R4 still the best thing for beginners who want to work with electronics and don't really necessarily know what they're doing, because the chances are any sensor that you plug into it will work. Whether it's 3.3 volts tolerant or 5 volt tolerant, you might lose a bit of resolution, but you're not going to fry your board. Whereas if you plug a 5 volt tolerant sensor into one of these, you're going to get that magic smoke. So I hope that answers that question for anyone who may be wondering why that's the case. And these videos, by the way, as much as they are just rundowns of all this kind of stuff, if you leave any questions like that in the comments of this video, I will make an effort to go through and actually answer them, because I know sometimes it can be hard to get a straight answer to some of the simple questions like that when you're just starting out. I spent a very long time banging my head against the desk wondering why I kept blowing up ESP8266 modules back in the day. Anyway, let's get on with the show. Now, of course, last week's show was absolutely dominated by the news of the Raspberry Pi 5 announcement. And I've accidentally several times said the Raspberry Pi 5 release, which has got people excited, and I am completely wrong. It was announced. It's not getting released until later this month. I'll hopefully have my hands on one slightly early, but we'll just have to see. And there are many YouTubers out there that have had them on their desks. As I said last week, I think Jeff Geeling has the best video on it out there, which is no surprise because he is the Pi guy. But Raspberry Pi are being super smart about this because they have so much material that is building up the hype even higher than it was when it was first released. And for me, as I mentioned on last week's show, the RP1, the custom silicon south bridge that they have come up with, which is the second piece of in-house silicon they've ever released, but the first one they ever started working on, is by far the most interesting part of the Raspberry Pi 5 for me. I'm sure many people out there are really happy about the fact you have this double the power, CPU power of the original Pi. But most of the other things that are benefits, apart from the power supply maybe, most of the other things that are benefits come from the RP1. And that's why this video that I'm about to link to is just absolute catnip to me. Yes, if I were a cat, my catnip would be people sitting around talking about pieces of custom silicon, because this video here is Eben Upton talking with James Adams and Liam Fraser, who are all people who have been heavily involved with putting the Raspberry Pi 5 together, and specifically the RP1, talking about the long and storied history of this particular piece of silicon. Because the RP1 started way back in 2015, I believe, or something like that, and it's something they've been working on for a very long time. And if you're not familiar with the concept of a South bridge, this is a completely separate chip that takes care of all inputs and outputs. So all of your GPIO pins, the camera inputs and outputs, Ethernet, and USB. And in fact, USB is a very good example. A little way through this conversation, they talk about how on the Pi 4, you had USB 3 ports and USB 2 ports, but because of the way that particular Broadcom chip worked, even one USB port wouldn't get its maximum potential throughput. Whereas now, with the version of the RP1 that they have, you can get maximum throughput through both USB 3 ports and the USB 2 ports as well, which are an order of magnitude slower anyway. That's just one of the many fascinating things that they talk about in this conversation. As a non-engineer, some of it just went way, way over my head, but some of it was just simple and fun to understand. Like, for a while, there was half a Raspberry Pi 5 on the lab bench at Raspberry Pi, and then a huge FPGA that was basically working out how the RP1 was going to be and testing every single element of it. Yeah, if you are a fan of hearing people who know what they're talking about excitedly talk about something that they've been sitting on and keeping secret for years, you will absolutely love this. And as it says at the very start of this article, yeah, the Pi 5 has taken $25 million just to put together, and a chunk of that is coming together to make the RP1 I/O controller. Because yeah, an 8-year development cycle is wild, and the fact that they started this before the RP2040 and the RP2040 came out before this did is, yeah, it's just wild to me. Anyway, we talked enough about the Pi 5 on last week's show. I just wanted to talk about this briefly because it was, something that I watched and got very excited about in the middle of the night instead of sleeping, and I'm hoping that you will find it as exciting as I did. One final thing, if you would prefer to read something rather than watch a video, Raspberry Pi have helpfully put a transcript underneath which has been cleaned up, potentially by some kind of AI or not, I'm not sure, which does read quite nicely as well. And as always, you'll find a link to that RP1 video in our video description. Now, we're going to move on to a project on the Electromaker website by Mukesh Sankla, who's a name that you may be familiar with if you've been following Electromaker for a while. He is a prolific maker who posts things in our project hub frequently, and has in the past won prizes and money from us for those projects. And that is because we give away prizes every single month for the top 3 projects on our site, as picked by an independent set of judges. And anyone can enter, by the way. If you have a free Electromaker account, you can. All you need to do is click the Join Us button at the top of here. You can make an account very quickly, and then under Community, if you click Project Hub or Upload Project, you can go to the Project Hub and click Upload, or you can go straight to Upload Project, and then you can upload your project. You can even import them from other sites. Anyway, Mukesh Sankla is a wonderful maker, and this is the Micromote, which is an ESP Now based gesture remote. So let's break that down into a couple of sections here. So ESP Now, if you're familiar with ESP32s, you've probably heard ESP Now. It might not be something that you've fiddled with much. It is something that I have not actually fiddled with personally, but it does seem like a great solution for something that I'm actually working on right now, which is Bluetooth based. Because ESP Now, as far as I understand, is ESP's simple to use way of creating a mesh of Bluetooth devices. And luckily enough for people like me, there is an Arduino library that covers that as well. So whether you're programming using the ESP IDF or whether you are using the Arduino IDE, you're able to play. So that covers the communication side of it, because inside this quite snazzy 3D printed case, there is an ESP32. In this case, a Seed Studio Zhao ESP32 3C board, one of the ones with the nice little ribbon cable on the bottom. And by ribbon connector, I mean a 20-pin connector or whatever it is. This beautiful tiny little connector here. They also have a camera module, which is equally as small as the Zhao that fits on top of it. And this is a Wi-Fi aerial or Bluetooth aerial, neither of which are used in this particular project because this is a gesture sensing module completely separately from the ESP32C3, but which conveniently fits together like this. sorry, I will save you, I will edit out the scroll. That was just a lot of me scrolling through this project. It's a sign of how well documented the project is that I had to scroll down this far to see it. Yes, it just fits in with the normal Xiao pins. So these two things and a battery makes up the entire thing. That's it. That's the entire project in a nutshell. No soldering, apart from, I guess, soldering the pins of the ESP32S3 on. But if you got one from Seed Studio with that in already, this is a no solder project, which is a nice bonus for people that don't necessarily want to break out the soldering iron and come up with something incredibly functional. But what do I mean by functional? Well, this video that you're seeing here demonstrates exactly what I'm talking about. This is Mukesh holding his fingers above it, showing 1 finger, 2 finger, 3 fingers, 4 fingers, or an open hand, and each one of these is picked up by the gesture camera and of course is then sending off different signals. Now in this case, it's changing the color of all the lights, but you could set that to do absolutely anything. Again, this is connected via ESP Now to various other devices. If you had any other ESP Now device that was connected to your smart home devices, you could control them directly, or you could have this connect via Bluetooth to a Home Assistant device and have each one of those spit out just a certain thing over the serial port, which will allow Home Assistant to know, oh, okay, I need to start the morning routine, which, I don't know, opens the garage door, turns the outside light on, and heats up the kitchen. I don't know how smart homes work. I don't really have a real one. And of course, a very snazzy 3D printed case doesn't hurt at all. And yeah, the thing that really impresses me about this project is that by the choice of the things that are used, this is a, as I previously mentioned, no solder project if you get a ESP32 Xiao with pins. And it's a pretty no mess project as well. Actually, I've just realized I've been saying this completely wrong. It's not a no solder project because you have to solder the battery to the ESP32S3 Xiao, to the battery pads on the back. So yeah, there's a mistake on my part. But I'd still argue that that's a very convenient thing given that the ESP32S3 has a battery management circuit built into it. So you could just have this thing set up and ready to go. And if you are interested in following along, as always, Mukesh has done a wonderful write-up which doesn't just tell you how to do it, but how it works, including all of the different gestures that are possible. And as always, important thing, this module, if you do get it, you don't just have to use it with the ESP32S3. There's an I2C mode, there's a SPI mode. He even shows you how you can attach it to a different board if you don't want to use the ESP32C3 Xiao. So, for example, this is attached to another board from C that I don't recognize, one of the M4 boards maybe. And as always, all of the code is down here too. So if you want to make one of these yourself, this shows you how you can have it as a sender, just send data, and then here's the receiving code for the other end, so whatever device you attach it to. And as I mentioned, in my use case, I know this might sound a little bit Stone Age, but I would probably have the receiver code just receive everything and then spit it out over UART, because then I could just have it attached to something else, like the Raspberry Pi that I've had earmarked to run Home Assistant on again for a while. I think it currently has Mosquito on it for messing around with MQTT. And if I do ever automate the Attic of Dreams up here, it'll probably be something like that. But yeah, we get a bunch of amazing proof of concept projects on the Electromaker website. But this is one of the ones that I looked at and thought, oh, that could be something that's just a finished, fully DIY smart home project that I could make one day when I have more time. If you are enjoying the Electromaker YouTube show, or indeed the many videos that Robin makes for the Electromaker YouTube channel, do take a moment to check if you are subscribed to our channel. By clicking the subscribe button underneath the video, we will show up in your subscriptions panel here on the left. That subscribe button turns into a drop-down menu, confusingly. If you select all notifications from that menu, you will get notifications only in YouTube when we put out new videos. That's useful if you have a lot of subscriptions and you just want to get notifications on when people put out releases. Like us, we put out releases mostly once a week, sometimes twice a week if there is a product of the week, which are confusingly every 2 to 3 weeks. But yes, as you can see, that's where all of those are. The final thing is, if you do click like on this video, that would be very useful to us. I absolutely understand that YouTube is saying comment, like, and subscribe is annoying, but yes, that's kind of how the YouTube game works, as it were. However, if that kind of stuff annoys you and you prefer supporting people in a more concrete way, there is a way that you can do that. And that is by shopping at the Electromaker.io shop. We stock a lot of things from a lot of people. I'm going to hide myself so you can see those things. As you see by the name scrolling across the top of the screen, pretty much anyone you would want to get anything from in the both maker, hobby, and more embedded engineering areas, you will be able to find from us, including the wonderful MQTT Anywhere kit that we will be announcing the winner to on this show if we have not already, and a lot of other nice things. We also stock 3D printing supplies, so if you need some filament, you can get that from us. And as always, it is slowly getting towards that season again, and if you would like to buy your first Arduino or Raspberry Pi kit for your loved ones, you will find that on here. Although, seeing the name Beagleboard flying across the top of the screen as well, there's some very nice Beagleboard products that may make a very nice first board for someone as well. Anyway, thank you so much for putting up with our self-advertisement, but it is better than advertising for other people, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the show. So 2 weeks ago, we were talking about the MQTT Anywhere kit in detail. I was giving my opinion on it, and Robin went into a huge amount of detail. As our resident gadget guru and engineer, he didn't just talk about how to get set up with the hardware. He did extensive tests on how much power it used and showed how the particular setup they have for cellular IoT, that is U-Blocks and Micro-E. Micro-E make the kit. It's this Arduino Duo with clickboard sockets on the back, which is a really nice dev board in and of itself. And then this U-Blocks click module with an aerial that you slot a SIM card into. And Robin showed how much less power sending and receiving messages from the cloud is with this. Along with the ThingStream service, which is there in browser Thing. I'm not going to talk about it anymore now because we talked about it so extensively on last week's show, and this link is in the bio. But last week on the show, I started a competition to see who would win the one that we were sent. Because yes, that one that you saw Robin playing with is going to be sent out to a lucky prize winner. And we're going to be announcing that winner right now. And our winner has the YouTube handle Stefan Kirsten 7501, who says, I would make my first home automation project with hashtag MQTT, which is the hashtag I asked you to leave in order to go through all of the entries. And you are the winner chosen at random, Stefan. Congratulations. We'll be getting that out to you in the post quite soon. We'll be in touch as to how we can get your address and all that kind of stuff. And thank you to everyone who enters our competitions every time we put them on. As you already know from earlier in this episode, we are already giving away our product of the week, and we have a lot more giveaways to come. There's a lot of exciting things that I'm hoping that we can announce and talk about in the next little while. But for now, I'm so happy that whenever we have these products of the week, we're able to give them straight away to other people. And oh, look, there's me again. But yes, the MQTT Anywhere kit is something that is awesome. And if you did not win one, do bear in mind that we do stock them in the shop. And if it is something that you do end up playing with, do let me know. I'm just very curious about it. I'd love to, I'd love to get my hands on one and have a fiddle with it as well. It seemed like one of the simplest altogether kits for getting started with cellular IoT. I'm not absolutely certain, but given that everything you need is in the box and you can get it up and running as quickly as Robin shows in his video, it seems pretty good to me. It is time for funding website things, albeit a lightning round of crowd supply projects. It's been a while since we've been on crowd supply because there's been so many other things to cover that we haven't been able to really talk about much. But very briefly, if you're not familiar with crowd supply, it is Kickstarter, but just for awesome embedded projects. And we're going to whip through 3 things very quickly this episode because we don't have much time, but I really did not want to miss out on any of these. So, Polykybod. It's a split keyboard with a difference, because what you're looking at here is a split keyboard where every single key is its own OLED screen. Now, this is not the first keyboard that has tried to do something like this. There are several keyboards out there that have done something similar, but this is the first one that I've seen that seems this together and this well formed. So what are we looking at here? Well, as it says, the Polykybod Split 72 is a mechanical split keyboard featuring innovative OLED displays in its keycaps with 72 keys, each one with a 72 by 40 pixel display. It is powered by 2 RP2040s, so one in each half, I imagine, is the idea here. And as you can see from this image here, you can use keyboard shortcuts to change between different layouts of keyboards. I cannot tell you how exciting that is to me as someone who lives in Germany and is British. I have various devices with various different keyboards, and I either have to remember where the German keys are on an English keyboard, or remember where the English keys are on a German keyboard. The latter is easier. I've been typing on US or UK keyboards most of my life. The former is terrifying. There are many more letters in German. This would be an incredibly useful thing for me. Now, that is all I'm saying for now. You can see what this is, you can see how it works. This is a pre-launch product. There is no price. You cannot support this yet, but this will be coming soon, as it says here. And if you would like to find out more, you can always enter your email address into this subscription box, and then when the Polykeyboard team are ready to send to put this live and update you, you will receive an email saying, hey, this is live, you can now go and support it, and that's when we'll find out how much the funding will cost to get one of these for yourself. But yeah, just a really nice idea, which is also true of the next thing we'll be talking about. Up next is AI in a box, and before I talk about it, I'm going to let the video talk for itself.
This is an AI in a box from Useful Sensors. We've taken the latest AI technologies, like speech recognition and large language models, and built them into a standalone device that offers captions, translations, conversation with an AI, and much more.
Chat mode.
Can you tell me a joke?
Sure. Here's a joke for you. Why don't scientists trust atoms? Because they make up everything.
So this is a large language model in a box, and it is a box that is offline by nature, and it's definitely offline by nature, and I'll tell you why in just a moment. But before I do, why would something like this need to exist? Well, the captioning thing there is a really nice use case for it, because I'm sure there are online tools which you could just send audio, stream audio to and get live captions. But do you really want to do that in every single situation where you are speaking? I mean, there are certain situations like local councils, for example, where they probably aren't even allowed to do that. Even within a business setting, if you had an all-hands meeting at a business, you probably aren't allowed to record that with any external tools. I've certainly worked in office environments where every single piece of software and hardware was rigorously looked into for both, safety, but security as well.
Future editing Ian here. Just one small point. It appears that I said a moment ago it's offline by nature, and I'm going to tell you why, and then never did. But it's quite simple, really. From what I can understand, the particular Rock Pi board they are using has no Wi-Fi connectivity or Bluetooth or anything wireless built into it. So unless you were to open up the box and stick an Ethernet cable into it, it is, by nature, an offline device.
Now, from a hardware perspective, this has a Rock Pi 5 inside it. The Raxa Rock Pi 5, I believe. It's a Rock chip 3588S, system on chip with MPU. And I read somewhere else that that's what was inside, at least the prototype version. It just had a single board computer in it. I think when this comes out and is actually finally finished, it will have something different inside it, because look, this is their box, renders of the box that they're going to put out, which looks quite nice and stylish. This post, by the way, is just the post on the page here, their recent update. Because they were also at the Imagine conference and the AI conference, where they used the AI in a box to capture to live caption the keynote talks. Again, talking about exactly the thing I was talking about before. You might not want to have live captioning in some places. This is the perfect place for any kind of live captioning, but you might not want online live captioning in certain environments. So if you would like to find out more about this, you can head to the link in the description for it. They've already raised more than half of their goal, and the basic version is going to be $299. It's an all-in-one pre-assembled box. It has a display, microphone, speaker, and the smarts, as it says. Or there is the prototyping kit, which has everything separate, which allows you to build it into a different kind of thing if you wanted to. And of course, this is all using open source software. This is both Whisper and Llama 2, which is this based on. These are open source large language models that you can incorporate into your own device. As they improve, you can improve the device, and of course, you can use it for your own kind of development as well. Our final lightning round crowd supply thing is the Hexaphone. Now, we talked about this on a show a little while ago. I'm not going to go into any more detail now, other than the fact that, I pretty much instantly bought one of these the second I saw that it went live. It is keycaps put together on a nice circuit board with a pressure sensor at the top. It is designed to be played like a saxophone and has a bunch of nice quality of life things that make it great. I will link the original time I talked about it in the description of this video. You can also find this page from the page I'm about to show you. I just wanted to show you that there is an update for this. By the way, if you are interested in getting one, I can't remember even how much it was. I paid $200 for a fully assembled hat ready to be plugged into a Raspberry Pi not included, and it takes a Raspberry Pi Zero. Note that it's almost certainly possible to hack this to work with anything as well. I'm going to use mine with a Raspberry Pi Zero. I'm very, very much looking forward to running some synthesizers on the Pi and playing them like a saxophone. I'm also going to try and predictably plug it into my synthesizer and see what I can make the analog bleep bloops do, and see what kind of CV I can manipulate using it as well. But I wanted to show you they have a new manufacturing blog, as it were, talking about their manufacturing plans and progress. It's all pretty good news. They've been very smart about it, and since they were funded so quickly, they were able to get ahead of schedule in terms of putting things together. But this is the bit I wanted to show you. They also secured packaging boxes for the finalized hat, and they were supposed to arrive today, but they received wine boxes instead. The shipping company swapped the order for one for a local winery, and the boxes we received fit nicely, 2 wine bottles with the openings to display their labels, but are not exactly appropriate for the Haxophone. I wanted to share that because that made me laugh, and I also just wanted to give the Haxophone just a little bit more love on the show, because it's one of the more unique projects. And as you probably know, if you've watched the Electromaker Show for a while, I'm very biased when it comes to microcontroller and single board computer music making devices and alternate input devices for instruments in general. So this is catnip to me. I think I've said that once already this show, and I'll probably say it again. We are going to close out this week's show by talking about 2 things. One of them is an ongoing research project that uses mini swarms of robots to isolate audio in rooms. It's a really wonderful project, and it's one that immediately caught my eye. We'll be looking at that Hackaday article in just a moment. We're also going to be looking at a new M5 stack development board, one which, as far as I know, is already released. I haven't got one, but it is a rotary encoder with an ESP32 inside it and a screen on it. It's basically an all-in-one device that you could just stick on the wall and use as part of your smart home. It's a really wonderful idea, and M5 are very good at coming up with things like that. But anyway, before we get there, robot swarms of microphones. No, robot microphone swarms of robots that are microphones. So this Hackaday article embeds a video from the Paul G. Allen School of Computing, and it shows the idea here. This is a set of robots that self-organize based on audio. So these guys are driving around on the table and finding the optimum positions to be in to pick up the audio in a room, and once they have done that, they track that audio around the room. So the idea being is that you can have various groups of speakers around a room and then isolate those people. And if I just turn on the sound for a moment, I'll be able to show you what that sounds like.
I actually need some help with this. I'm going to start in Paris, I think. Then I'll take train to Nice. Then probably I'll go on to Milano. They're pretty close to each other.
Cool, that sounds lovely.
Perfect. And what music do you prefer?
Hi, this is Future Editing Ian here. I somehow managed to turn my microphone off as well as the source audio here, so it's a little hard to work out what's going on. But in short, I am explaining that the 2 speakers here are reading from books, and the swarm microphones, if you look in the top left-hand corner, are tracking their position, which shows that this is a lot more involved than just turning on and off mics based on position of the mics themselves.
Now, I will be linking Lewin Day's fantastic write-up of this from Hackaday, which is where I discovered this. I will also be linking, if I remember to, this website, which is the actual site that they have put together, acousticswarm.cs.washington.edu. On the off chance that I forget to link that, this YouTube video, which is in the Hackaday article, if you click it so that it opens in the browser in YouTube, it's the same video, just in YouTube. In the description, you can copy and paste it. They do actually show that in the video itself, but yeah, it's annoying copying things out of videos, so you can copy it directly from there. If I remember correctly, I will put it in the description of this video. But yeah, this overview is fantastic. It gives you a few other examples of it in action. It also gives you different versions of it, showing it working in real-life audio situations and synthesized spatial audio situations. So there's a few of these, but this is quite interesting. These are 3 speakers in a real-world scenario, and I'll see if I can make this a little bit bigger so it's easier to see. And you can see the little blue dots here are the positions of the microphones themselves. And as mentioned, they self-organize on the table. And in fact, I saw this image before, and I did not notice that they have photo interrupters there. That's what stops them from falling off the table. But there's no cameras other than that. This is just something for edge detection. And then they have motors, wheels, an inertial measurement unit, and then a speaker and a microphone on it as well. The little MEMS microphone, it looks like. They really are miniature, very tiny things. And yeah, as you can see here, these are the positions of the microphones. These red dots are where the speakers actually are, and these green X's are where the robots think the speakers are by using their spatialized network that uses the difference in audio from one to the other. So if a speaker here speaks, the audio will reach all of these at different times, and the real key and the real difficult part is taking all of those audio parts and separating them, and they're doing that using a neural network. Separating speech from a large number of concerns with individual streams is challenging even for the human brain. What's the exact name of it? It forms a self-distributing microphone array. Oh yes, along with our attention-based neural network framework. And again, that's the bit that I know the least about, and that's the bit I'm looking forward to reading up on. But I'm assuming what you really want to hear is how good this is. So I'm going to turn my microphone off, and I'm just going to play a couple of these. You'll be able to see from my mouse position exactly what I'm clicking on, and you can decide for yourself what you think of this.
We have to have a
state of shock and disbelief. Shock and disbelief. And disbelief. Afternoon. We're in a state of shock and disbelief. And disbelief. Afternoon. We're in a state of shock and disbelief.
We have to have a full statement to Parliament. The attack. We have to have a full statement to Parliament. The attack. We have to have a full statement to Parliament. The attack.
Now, just for context, the ground truth presumably is a microphone attached to the actual speaker as a control, and then ours presumably is the output they got from there, and then the ideal binary mask is perhaps something that they've worked on separately. Again, I need to look more into exactly how that part of it works. If there's one of you that wants to simply describe this in the comment section for me or other people, please do. And there are various other examples of it on this page, along with various other videos. I'd love to spend more time on this now. I do not have the time to do so. Again, Lewin Day's write-up is wonderful of it, but the idea of robotic swarms that can just go to various places in a room and pick up audio and make it this good live is an amazing thing. And it's the kind of thing that makes me think of the future of live events. Gone are the days where you're going to have to make sure you have a microphone pointing exactly the right direction in a room where there's any other sound or it's going to be ruined. It's a really nice idea. The idea of neural networks being able to remove this stuff is fantastic as well. It is a little bit annoying because I have some very nice soundproofing behind the camera that you will never see, and maybe the days that is required are gone, but it is something that I find very interesting as someone who's had to mic up a bunch of annoying rooms over the years for recording or for podcast reasons, and it's just a fascinating project, isn't it? We are going to close out this week's show by talking about the M5Dial. Now, this is a new product from M5 Stack, and as you can see, this is a dial. It is a rotary encoder with a touchscreen built into it. It has an ESP32 inside. It has, well, this is a very small but very nice feature. It has that threaded back that allows you to mount it to wood or acrylic or anything. It also has an RFID reader inside it just there. It will take a variety of different voltage inputs, and you can attach a battery to it, but it does not come with a battery inside it. It does, however, have a battery charging circuit. Now, I'm assuming that if you're watching the show, you're familiar with at least one M5 Stack product. As a general rule, they are rugged, easy-ish to use, and very competitively priced. Oh yeah, another M5 Stack thing. Usually when they announce something, it's just released and ready to get. And the last time I was talking about something like this, I said, yes, you can buy this right now before noticing it was out of stock. And that's exactly the same thing here. However, that's probably just a sign that this is something that is already quite successful. If you are interested in finding out more about it, I will be linking the shop page in the description of this video, and in future maybe we'll be coming back to talk about it a bit more. I'm hoping I'll be able to get my hands on one way or another, because I'm a big fan of these kind of kits that are set out in slightly different ways. Just the idea that this is a fully enclosed kit that really reminds me of the super smart knob that we featured on the show a long while ago. I wonder if that was its inspiration, in fact. For those of you who aren't sure what I'm talking about, I am talking about this. This is the Smart Knob. It is a DIY haptic feedback knob. Now, this is different. This isn't something that you can buy. This is a hobby project that we covered on the Electromaker Show some time ago, as you can tell by the slightly different lighting and hair of the me that is there. But this is an STM32 project which uses a normal encoder, but without any detenting to it, which is also attached to a motor, which allows you to actually add your own detents. The motor adds fake detents to it, so you can have whatever detents you want, or you can have it spring back into position. It's an insanely wonderful project, and I'll try to remember to leave a link to it in the description of this video. Anyway, I got slightly distracted, but I'm just wondering if that's some kind of influence on this M5 stack dial, which is $34.90 if you'd like to buy one, and when they come back in stock, I'll try and remember to tell you on the show. That has been our show for this week. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for supporting the Electromaker podcast, be that just by downloading the show every week, or also going and watching it on YouTube and doing all of the YouTube muck-gubbins, like clicking like and subscribing to the channel and all the things that YouTubers ask you to do. Yes, that does make a marked difference, and our numbers on YouTube in terms of the amount of people who are subscribed to the show continue to climb, which is a very nice thing, because I do very much enjoy doing this, and it's not something that is necessarily sustainable to do if we're not seeing some kind of growth doing it. So I'm very glad that is happening. But the Electromaker podcast will remain here regardless of that. I very much enjoy hearing the amount of you that use this podcast as part of your commutes, or the few of you who are also runners like me who listen to it when you are out running. I can't imagine listening to myself while running, but then again, I'm the one that records this podcast, aren't I? But that is it for another week. I will be back next week with more Maker and embedded goodness. But until then, I hope you have a fun, safe, and creative time. Bye-bye.